a cohesive team. I thought that was a unicorn, a bit of an illusion.
Confusion is ugly, undermines teamwork and cohesion and kindness by its nature.
My first kick of the cat, if that's the phrase,
kick of the can.
was
Yeah, I hope you don't kick the cat. Don't kick the cat. We're animal lovers.
Welcome to the Serious Playfulness podcast, where we explore the work of building healthy, mission-driven organizations that don't suck the life out of you. I'm Kyle.
And I'm Stephanie. And if you secretly dream of a workplace that you actually want to go to, then you're in the right place. Let's get to work.
We are talking today about dealing with bad apples. When you have a member of a team whose behavior is causing havoc, what do? We have some interesting stories to share, and we're going to modify the details around them because these are situations that we have some direct familiarity with, and we don't want to talk about real people on a podcast that share relevant insights from situations that we're familiar with. I will begin. I once had dealings with a team who, this is a while ago, on which there was a lady who was in charge of communications. Again, I'm changing some details. And in an offsite session, we were talking about being team players and the qualities around team playerness. And the team started to challenge this lady in a really beautiful, courageous way as we were having a good open discussion about how each person was doing on the range of being a team player. And as the team began to offer some feedback on this person, the response was really interesting. She started to get quite defensive, and in a subtle way though, okay? And what I mean by this is the feedback was like, well, it doesn't seem like you're willing to follow the direction of the team or the leader. And this lady was, again, deflective, and eventually began to suggest that actually the problem was with the team leader, not with her own behavior. So there was definitely a subtle kind of throwing somebody under the bus going on.
Dysfunction.
Yes, that's the one. That's right. And in this situation, we actually reached a real impasse where we couldn't go any further until we addressed this behavioral issue. So we decided to actually pause the whole session and regroup. And it led to some fascinating things over the next several hours. We had a meeting, a follow-up meeting, in which the person claimed that the members of the team had all said that the team leader was the problem, but then they denied saying it. So dysfunction number 2 is making stuff up, lying. Fast forward, it was decided to terminate this person, obviously done with, well, hopefully, yes, done with justice and charity. And she decided to bring a family member with her to the meeting at which she was going to be terminated. So what's going on there is control and manipulation.
Yeah.
It's amazing. And as we know, one person like this can cause all kinds of havoc. Steph, would you like to share your story?
Sure. I'm just thinking about the scenario. It's like bringing in a wounded puppy dog to my meeting that I think I'm going to get fired out. What is that? That's wild.
Yes.
Oh my goodness. Or my sick child. I think I'm going to be fired. Come sit in this meeting with me.
That's short, maybe in a body cast or something.
Yeah, good idea. Those are for those who are looking for some dysfunctional, manipulative ways to behave. You just got a few ideas. Yeah, I have a story. I have a story of a team that actually, it was the first time I was consulting, and I didn't know much about the team dynamics. And my first kick of the cat, if that's the phrase,
Kick of the cat.
was
Kick the cat. Animal lovers in here, we can. We're not really kicking cats. We're trying to kick cats.
what? Kick of the can was challenging. I didn't get an easy start. And I knew that right away. There was a lady on the team who did not want to be there, thought organizational health issues were a waste of time, and expressed that at every opportunity she had. Direct comments where she would undermine and complain about what we were doing. And then a lot of passive aggressive expressions where
Okay.
it's the eye roll, a 50-year-old woman eye rolling at a meeting and huffing and sighing, interrupting. So when someone was actually engaging in the conversation and the questions we were working through, brainstorming, trying to maybe finish a sentence, this person would just jump in and be like, well, "This is close enough. Let's just get this going. Let's just keep the ball rolling. Like, I'd like to get out here someday. What's this going to do anyways?" And so again, I'm new at this. I know my job as a consultant is to say the things that haven't yet been said that permits this team dynamic. And as I was watching it and realizing, okay, this is an accepted behavior that this person is conducting, accepted in the way that no other team member was willing to challenge it. They just all sat there dumbfounded. So cue number one, no one else is going to say something. That means I have to, because it's my job to. And it wasn't just one little comment of someone's frustration. This was ongoing. And I think that's an interesting type of toxic behavior when it is small, consistent, frequent, but so repetitive that eventually we feel like, gosh, we have to say something. But because no one event is so overtly toxic, if this woman had threw a punch, everyone would say something. It is to a significant level that we know hitting is not right. And if it got to that level, everyone would say so. But because it was this slow grind of behaviors that not one of them was all that bad, but the collective was disrespectful, that dynamic is easy to not say anything about because it feels a little petty, like what? I'm just being I'm just a little impatient. It's easy to slough off. So that was what I was dealing with. And I had the joy and the nervousness of calling it out, which I had little experience doing up until that point, but I gave it a go. And I said, this is what I've been noticing is your behavior that seems very dismissive to what the whole team has decided we're investing into today. And it's coming across.
You said this to her
in the team.
Yeah.
Like real time, everyone's around the table. It was right after one of her comments where I think we were working on one of the critical questions. And again, some dismissive, like, yeah, close enough. Let's move on. And that's when I responded with saying, this is what I'm noticing. And are you aware of how that's shutting down the conversation? Because that's what this is what I'm seeing is now all the other people across the table are not willing to comment. If they are willing to comment, it's with a lot of nervousness and reluctance and fear, trepidation, because they're expecting this woman to pounce and dismiss them. Now, no big surprise. Someone who's willing to conduct themselves like this typically does not respond well either. And I got defensiveness. I got an explanation. I got how, this is a waste of time. We created some of this stuff on our website. Why are we talking about this stuff now? It's a Saturday. I don't want to be here. Like just this long litany of, and then there's just a little slight ownership with a deflection. Okay, fine. Maybe I'm being a little short, but I'm just joking around, which is not what was happening. That was not joking around.
Doesn't sound like joking. No.
Yeah. So that is another dysfunctional tactic where a toxic person will try to tempt you to believe that you're reading the situation wrong, that I'm interpreting this wrong. This person's actually just being lighthearted and funny. And no, that's not what that was. And that's a form of gaslighting. It's a real great skill set and tool of toxic people.
By the way, a little sidebar. I learned the term gaslighting from a client. I never heard it my whole life until about 4 years ago. Now I find it's everywhere. Have you noticed that? Have you known the term for a long time?
No, I would say 5 to 10 years.
Okay. My 11-year-old daughter knows what it means. And she's quite precocious and reads a lot, and she's around the family conversation. But I don't know what to make of that, whether it's become more, maybe just more awareness. And Bad apple. It's fascinating to quantify how one person's attitude and behavior can affect everything so much. We were talking with a client at some point about the disproportionate amount of time and energy and stress that just one person is causing. And the simple solution, right, is to confront it. And if that person doesn't change, is to remove that person.
Yeah.
It's not always that simple, because sometimes the way by which they're behaving, there's a kind of covering of tracks type of thing going on. There's dishonesty sometimes. Sometimes it's complicated.
Yes. Or they might have such a unique skill set that it's tempting to tolerate the bad behavior because we get this expertise.
Sure.
Or they're hitting such good numbers and targets, performance things, that it's hard to replace this person.
Yes.
Or just the demand on our plate right now. We've got an event or a project and a deadline. I cannot deal with turnover right now. So I'm going to maybe not even address it at all to survive this season. But there's a cost to that.
Yes. Jim Brown has shared this story and about dairy cows from the farm he grew up on. Jim, I hope you get the details right if you're ever watching this. His dad was a farmer, and he had let's say 100 cow in the herd. Head of cattle, I think is how you say that, right? And the highest producing cow was a bit of a bully. The cow would kick and bite his dad, the farmer. And so his dad was reluctant to do anything about it because this cow produced the most milk, most profitable cow. But after a number of months, he got fed up and said, let's forget it. I can't do this. So he got rid of that one poorly behaving cow. And the next day, his dad gets a report of the volume of milk collected that day from the herd. And they're one cow down, and it's their highest producing cow. And the total volume was higher than before they'd lost that cow. So what do you think's going on there?
I think that is a really neat story to demonstrate Patrick Lencioni's, I believe it's his verbiage that says addition by subtraction, where we can grow. We are better off by removing this one bad cow.
Yes. By the way,
Maybe that's what should the topic be. A bad cow, not a bad apple.
Yeah, that's right. It's a very moving story, wouldn't you say?
Oh my gosh. Dad joke.
Thank you. That's right.
Yeah. But it's easy to tolerate. And I almost, like I was mentioning, the small, subtle, but usually very consistent misbehaviors of passive aggressive, some gossip, maybe a little bit of fabricating a few details to add to that gossip. Those, as a manager, I think it's easy to maybe slough that off. Like, really, I have to tell another adult not to gossip? Like, that's ridiculous. What's the difference between managing and babysitting? Sometimes you don't know. But so where is the line between I should address all of those little problems because they build a collective major issue on a team. And I think if I'm having a problem with that, bet your farm that everyone else on the team is probably not delighted to have this person around.
Yes. Most likely. We were speaking with someone about a team member. Again, we'll change some details. And this fellow was causing havoc. And some of the indications of that were basically blaming other people for things, but in a really subtle way that you couldn't necessarily detect. And with a cheerfulness too. This person's very gregarious and he's friendly. He's generally liked, but he would subtly undermine by comments, especially the leadership, by blaming. And it was not fair, but it was subtle. And then falsely accusing leadership of certain things too. And the emphasis here is subtle betrayals of the truth and of relationships. Why? to protect his turf because I think he felt threatened. There were some changes afoot and he didn't want to have to be different or change.
Hmm.
So it was like a wounded animal in a corner, but with a friendly demeanor.
Wow. It's dangerous.
Dangerous is right.
Yeah.
So I think in this discussion, the key is to recognize that it's not always overt.
Yeah.
Pay attention when the cumulative effect is it's affecting your team. It's affecting your team's morale. It's affecting your performance. We were talking to a leader of that team and he basically said, I'm wondering if I'm the crazy one because the suggestions are that I'm seeing things wrong because it's a sort of trickle of suggested what of that I'm seeing it wrong. They're seeing it right, but no, it's not. It's not true.
Mm-hmm.
It's complicated.
Mm-hmm. And I think what's coming to mind is there are good, healthy times to talk to someone else about a situation that it's not gossip. So what is that? What's the difference between consulting someone and gossiping about a bad situation? It is gossiping about a bad situation, which is not healthy, is intended to just spread a story and maybe enjoy the momentary high that you get from sharing someone else's problem or misery that is not my story to tell. But there is another behavior that can look similar. It's when we talk to another individual about the story and situation going on that they're not part of, or maybe they're loosely close to, but we're doing it in an intent to get a second opinion. Am I seeing this wrong? Have you noticed? And the intent is if I'm right, if what I am suspicious of is correct, and I am seeing this right, that I'm then going to go to the source. I'm going to go to the person that I am currently talking about, but this is a consultation to prepare, to verify, to get, just to check in. And then I'm going further to address it with the person. And to avoid gossip, we might avoid getting consultation or a second input, but they are different behaviors, even though maybe on the surface they could look similar.
That's great. And by the way, what was the effect of that lady that you were consulting to? What happened?
Oh, yeah. The rest of the story.
Yeah.
The rest of the story is after the defensiveness, the explanation as to why this adult was behaving much like a child. I asked the rest of the room, like, how is your experience? Are you feeling comfortable to share? Am I reading this right? The room, a couple head nods, kind of a sense of, I feel more confident in a group saying, this is kind of weird. Why is this happening? So they affirmed it. And I think I called a break. I think that's maybe what happened. And long story short, because some of the details are fuzzy in between, is eventually the person left that meeting. They're like, I'm not going to spend the rest of my day like this. They left. Then with the remaining team, we talked very candidly about, is this normal? Has this been ongoing? At what time I learned that, oh yeah, every meeting, she is critical and domineering and dismissive of ideas and kind of talks down to people. So, okay, what's the plan? Or is the team prepared to make a difficult decision here? And the consensus and the approval of the leader was that they weren't willing to tolerate this anymore. They were going to ask this person to essentially, you can resign or you're fired. And the person decided to, I think, resign in a more gracious effort. And I do know that in that dynamic as well, one of the leaders, I think it was the leader, spoke to her afterwards. And I don't know if this was necessary, but like thanked her for her service, that though the team dynamic didn't work out, they were still grateful for what she had contributed. But yeah, addition by subtraction.
Addition by subtraction.
Yeah.
And also for the leader, death to self. And I'm, of course, using the biblical phrasing there. We don't mean actual death. We mean denying yourself, denying your own comfort level or what's needed for the broader good. Let's leave it there. Bad apples. They happen. Deal with them as best you can, and it'll make a big difference. Thank you for joining us on the Serious Playfulness podcast. If this episode gave you something to think about or try, please share it with someone else who needs to hear it.
And you can check us out at teemwork.ca, 2 E's and T's.